Well, the time now is 6 p.m., and this is the November 7th, 2022 Board of Adjustments regular meeting. And we have a full board tonight. Joe Turner, Jim Wade, Lyndon James, Dee Blackwood, and Soji John, members present tonight. Do we need to do the minutes for the last meeting?
Yes, sir. So that's on the consent agenda.
So we do it now?
No. So you have there's a prompt over there for you.
Okay.
So call, I forget what it says exactly, but it'd be call the meeting to order and then swear in everybody, I believe.
Okay. So we will call the meeting to order now and ask if there are any participants who plan to speak this evening. If you would identify yourself. Mike, you need to come up and
I believe it says on there to have everybody rise and state that. I have a piece of paper in front of you.
Yep.
It should be on there.
So if you're planning to speak, please rise and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you are about to give in the case now on trial is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. We'll do the staff report on this agenda item.
So go over the consent agenda first.
And the consent agenda is?
What's on the screen in front of y'all
All
now?
items on the consent agenda are routine items and may be approved with one motion. Should any member of the Board of Adjustments or any individual wish to discuss any item, said item may be removed from the consent agenda by motion of the commission. And so we have in front of us the minutes of the meeting of March 7th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, we need to remove those minutes for discussion.
Okay. So make a motion to remove.
I move that we remove that item from the consent agenda for discussion.
Okay, so Jim Wade made a motion, and then
Do
we need
I
a
have
second.
a second? Second, all in
I'll
favor?
second that. Sorry.
Soji John has seconded.
Okay.
And do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, so now you can
all
vote.
in favor? Unanimous, vote 5-0.
Yes, so I removed that. There seems to be some confusion in those minutes. It mentions in B1, Chairperson Jim Wade, and then it went to, in the C2, it went to Chairman James in the second sentence at the top of page 2 of those minutes. Then it went to Chairman James in the third sentence, and then it went back to Chairperson Jim Wade. So I think there's some confusion. I don't remember who the chairman was. It could have well been.
So it's chair and vice chair. I can make that.
Yeah, so I think just clear up that confusion, because I think
Okay.
it was actually Lyndon that was the chairperson.
Yeah, on that one it was.
So I don't think that's really that important, but it should be correct.
Certainly.
So I move that adjustment be made to the minutes.
Yeah. Do I have a second to that judgment, to that motion for adjustment to the minutes? Soji John seconds. All in favor? Aye. Vote is approved to adjust those minutes according to Mr. Wade's descriptions. Thank you, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How about, were there any other edits or comments or discussion items or adjustments to the minutes that you saw? Anybody? Then I ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve with the adjustment.
Second?
Seconded.
D, thank you, D. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. So the minutes are approved. So we'll, are we ready for the staff report now on the case in front of us?
Yes, sir. So you can open up you can go on to the public hearing items and go ahead and state what number item 2 is on the agenda.
Yes, item 2 on the agenda tonight. We'll hold a public hearing to discuss, consider, and act upon a request for a variance to sections 3.05.04 and 2.05.07 of the Unified Development Ordinance to allow for variances to the minimum lot width and flag lot on the property zone Single-Family 2, SF2, located generally at 370 Barnes Bridge Road. Case 1767-ZBA/Twitchell Addition. The agenda item report, which we have.
Yes, sir.
So, the staff, please present that case.
Yes, sir. Good evening, members. The request before you tonight is for an approximately 14.7 acre property located at the southeast corner of the North Collins Road and Barnes Bridge Road. Its address 370 Barnes Bridge Road, and the property fronts both North Collins and Barnes Bridge, and is zoned single-family 2. In 2018, a tract on Barnes Bridge Road, located at 374 Barnes Bridge, was platted from this lot, creating the remainder that exists today, 370 Barnes Bridge Road. There is one home on the property at 370 as it exists today. The applicant is wanting to subdivide the existing lot into 3 separate lots. Lots 2 and 4 would comply with all requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance. However, Lot 3 fronting North Collins would not meet the lot width and flag lot requirements of the UDO. Flag lots under Section 2.0507 are prohibited, and all properties within the SF2 zoning district must have 170 feet in lot width. As defined within the town's Unified Development Ordinance, lot dimensions shall be measured at the property line, except for that of residential lots located on cul-de-sac circles. Lot width shall be measured at the front build line. So for this one, it would be directly at the property line. In order for the proposed North Collins Road lot to comply with the SF2 zoning district's required dimensional regulations of the UDO, there are a couple of measurements that would have to be increased from the proposed subdivision would allow. The SF2 zoning requires a lot width of 170 feet. This property currently has roughly, the proposed lot layout has roughly 50 feet onto North Collins there. Staff has expressed these concerns with the applicant, and they are now requesting a variance from this requirement to split the current lot into 3 separate lots. The agenda item report on the screen. In the agenda item report on the screen, staff has listed the UDO's criteria for granting a variance. Based on the criteria provided, staff does not believe that this case warrants a variance, allowing the owner to create a lot with roughly 50 feet of width at the property line. While the town's regulations may not provide the property owner the optimal use of their land, the owner is not deprived of a reasonable use. Additionally, based on the review of the case, there is no unique circumstances inherent to the property that were not self-imposed based on the available frontage on North Collins Road. Furthermore, the existing property is developable today. With more than 170 feet of frontage on a North Collins, a lot with adequate frontage can be created. Therefore, there is no undue hardship present that would warrant a variance. Letters were sent to the neighboring property owners within 200 feet of the site. The town has received 1 response letter in favor to the zoning variance. Staff recommends denial. Thank you all.
Thank you. Now we can hear from the applicant. If you would come up, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time to present this case. I am Mike Twitchell.
deeded 2 acres over to my oldest daughter 3 years ago. Let me give you a little background. The first thing I want to thank is Philip for being patient with me and filling out the forms and going through this process, because we kind of went through a few scenarios. I'd like to give you a little background just on the history of how I became to Sunnyvale and bought this property and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I bought this property in 1998, raised 3 children here. I got 2 daughters and a son. All 3 went to school here when, I think Jim probably knows who I am, but all of them went to school here when I was just 8th grade. My oldest daughter, Lauren, went to North Mesquite and graduated. My Leah, my middle daughter, went to North Mesquite 1 year, then graduated from Booker T. Washington. And then my son, John Michael, he graduated from here, went to Bishop Lynch, graduated from there. And anyway, they're all successful kids. Lauren, the oldest one, went to marine biology school down at A&M, decided that being on a research ship for 3 or 4 years at a time wasn't her deal. So she ended up going to the University of Houston in the School of Hotel Management and whatnot, and graduated cum laude from there. Ended up going into the restaurant business and the catering business. I used to cater for Wolfgang Puck, and now is doing catering business still. Leah went to Hollins University in Roanoke, Virginia, graduated second in her class there, and then went to London to the Coulthard Institute of Art, which is the finest art school. Got a master's degree in art history. Was going to do a PhD and decided that studying Vasari and Renaissance artists for 3 more years wasn't her deal. So she got married in London and has 2 boys. John Michael ended up getting a baseball scholarship in D1 school, went to New Mexico and UTA, and passed her free agency with Tampa Bay and Angels and traveled for a little bit. He's down in Florida. Long story, I tell you this. Lauren came back 3 years ago, decided she wanted a house on the land, and I built her a house, gave her 2 acres, built her house, and that's the 2 acres that are out of the 16.7, that's reason there's 14.7 acres, as you see. Leah now has come back from London. She's been very successful as an artist in London, and actually did a beautiful home in London, remodeled it, sold it just before COVID started, thank goodness. And now has moved back and live with me, and this is why I'm here tonight, because we're trying to build her house too. So, how do I control the pictures?
I got you.
Okay, go next picture. Go back, if you don't mind. This is kind of where you can see where my house is on the front far left in the middle, and then Lauren's house is kind of the white. Lauren's is probably the only modern, I know it's the only modern home in Sunnyvale. I designed it, I'm an architect and contractor. I designed and built it and what we're trying to do, Leah wants to be on the lake. One of the problems, even though there's 14.5 acres here, one of the problems is the lake itself, in the drainage situation and the grading on it. So as you can see with the grading here, the dam itself is inherent to keeping that lake intact. There's a lot of drainage coming from the power plant that's coming down Barnes Bridge to Collins, and it comes around the corner in Mr. Green's land. It comes underneath the culvert pipe into that end of the lake right there. There's another one. Do we have a pointer?
And that should be able to get you through the slides too.
Okay, good. All right.
Is it working? Let me see. That should
So I don't want to belabor the point here. This one?
Yes, the red should be the, is it still not working?
No. That's it. Okay. Didn't get it. Anyway, long story short, I want to point. Up this corner, the water drains underneath the cold pipe down into that, and you can barely see the line coming in. But the water comes in there, draining all the way from Water Creek. The corner itself is typically underwater almost all the time. There's also another cold pipe, and you see the grading. Oh, you can see we're pretty steep. There's another one coming off Collins in that area, and there's another one coming off right in Collins right there. Those, the road along Collins is very steep. And it's very heavily treed. And one of the problems I have is that much of that land in that corner and along Collins right there is not developable. It's so close to my lake and it's so steep with the drainage that I can't develop that property, period, at all, unless I drain the lake, and I'm not going to drain the lake. There's a piece of land up next to the cemetery that is very developable, and I'm saving that lot. So the next question is can I come from Barnes Bridge back into this property back in the corner? And I cannot because of the dam. I can't mess with the dam. I've checked with structural and civil engineers. So one of the two problems I have is drainage, but the second one, I'm landlocked on two sides. I can't get into this back corner of property. So this back corner, this property right here, I cannot develop. I can't get to. Period. I can't get Barnes Bridge. The only way I can get to is from Collins. So if I want to get a lot, build a house, which my kids will build a house right there, I either got to go 170 feet along Collins, all the way back, which increases the acreage to almost around 4 acres. But the worst scenario is if I do that, I can't build a lot there, house there, because I can't. There's too much drainage problems right there. So, a little bit of the quandary is that out of the 14.7 acres, I will only be able to build 4 houses. One for me and one for each one of my kids. I want to be able to at least have the position to allow my son one of the 2 lots. I'm not going to build more than 4 houses. I'm here. My kids are very successful kids. That's the reason I said that. They want to come back here and live. They love Sunnyvale schools. My daughter wants to be in that site right there. What I'm trying to do is this piece of property, what I'm showing to you right now, I want to be able to get at least 2 homes, because they're about 2 acres each. Oh, yeah, working. No, I'm just moving. Oh, okay, very good, yes. So I'm a commercial architect. I don't know if you ever been to the shops at Legacy West. I was the architect and all that. We do a tremendous amount of work up there, and we do flag lots in Plano, Frisco all the time.
Michael, let me interrupt so I can clarify what you're trying to tell us.
Okay?
4 homes is max.
Yes.
You've got 1, 2 already done.
Right.
The third one is this lot we're talking about tonight.
Yes.
The fourth one is where? Point the arrow
I either
there.
want it to be, Jim, right there.
Okay,
or
where you
back
put the
there.
arrow.
I want it to be that or the other one back up the area up in there. The negative of that area is it's confined a little back in the corner. Number one, it's right next to the cemetery.
Okay, the property that's on the west side of this lot we're talking about tonight,
Yes, sir.
that's your property there,
Yes.
and that's,
All this is my property right now.
yeah, but that is considered part of your house.
What'll happen, if you go to Platts, that's the way it's platted right now.
Okay,
I've got 14.7 acres, my daughter's got 2. You go to the next one.
so
This is what we're looking at right now. I'm gonna end up being 1, 2, 3, 4 lots.
okay,
The lot where my property is 6.6 acres or so.
right,
That's never gonna change. End of story.
Okay.
If you want me to swear to that,
Okay,
book it.
so
Oh.
that puts the fourth house somewhere on what you've called Lot 2, I think.
Yes. Yes.
But you're limited because of the drainage coming off of, you said the power plant, but off of Barnes Bridge.
Yeah, well, it comes down power plant, down that ditch, it comes
Okay.
down. I don't know
And
if
that's
you've
at the
ever been,
corner of Collins and Barnes Bridge,
Correct,
but east of the cemetery.
correct.
Correct, okay. Thank you.
So, the reason for the flag lot, and if you want to show, go to the next one. That would be what the plat would look like.
Gotcha.
So, I won't come back and replat it unless for another piece of property. It'll be one or two. It won't be any more than that. And if you want to book that one, we can do that tonight too. That's fine with me. If you go to the next picture, Philip. The drive, which is that 50-foot right-of-way, that's what it's going to look like. That's how we're going to build it. One look at it, and it's next to Mr. Brown's land right there. His fence will be where that wood fence is. We'll be going back into the property in the back. We want it to be a beautiful drive. My daughter still is an artist, and she does fine paintings and whatnot. She's going to bring customers back into this property. They won't be back on the lake. And it's actually a very beautiful piece of property. There's more pictures I've got back here if you want to see them, but there's a pecan tree back there in which we're going to have the house around there. It's about a 36 diameter pecan tree, and it's overlooking the majority of the lake. So long story short, just to get the gist around, this is the property that my daughter wants to be at, is back in there. We don't want, she didn't want more than 2 acres, she didn't want to pay the taxes on more than 2 acres. If it gets down to 4 acres, if that's what we have to do, that's what we'll do. My preference is flag lots are allowed. It's a drive. It's not hurting anybody. It's the only person that's going to be dealing with is me. Mr. Brown's right there, and if he wants to speak, that's fine. I don't think he has an objection to it. If he does, he can come up and talk to you about it. I don't think it hurts this property. It doesn't hurt anybody else. It doesn't have any influence with any other property in Sunnyvale I can think of. So it's a request. Normally, I wouldn't do it, but I am confined by 2 sides of my property that I can't even access. And then the other one's Collins. There's another underlying factor of what we're trying to do too is we've got 2 little boys involved. They're both in school. My daughter, Lauren, has 2 little girls who are here. My other daughter, Leah's got 2 little boys. They're in school here now. I don't want them on Collins. I don't know if you all seen the traffic on Collins. I've already had a Care Flight helicopter land on my property right there because of a horrible accident. So I want them back. And if I have to make sure I get 2 more acres, I'm going to give them 2 more acres. I have to. If that's what you force me to do, fine. I'll do it. So, but it's not my druthers to do it. I'd rather be able to have the land free and cleared. If, in case my son wants to be there, fine, he can do it. So I'm sure you all when you get home, I'll ask any questions.
Got a question.
Yes, sir.
Do the lots need to have access to Collins, or can there be a internal lot with an easement?
So by definition of the UDO, there does have to be frontage onto a public access way.
Can it be via an easement?
No, sir, we do not allow that. It would have to be, there would have to be 170 feet onto Collins in this case.
Mr. I don't know if any city would allow that. My understanding is just to get a permit, I mean, just an address, you have to have a ability to have land to the street. So I couldn't even get an address because I don't have my access to a street. 50-foot flag lot is very common. The reason I put 50 foot, number one, it's very common in Plano, Frisco, and other towns, and we've done it many a time. So it's not an unusual situation. I don't know if Philip can tell you that, but we've done it quite often, using flag lots. And it's kind of a certain situation of this is that you got a back corner of a piece of property that you can't get to very easily. So I'm not trying to develop 2, 3, 4 houses back in that corner and try to pull this off. I just want one house. I want to leave the rest of the land for my 6 acres, I want that one house in that next, and it's 2 acres, so it's acre bigger than what's the minimum required. And the size of the lots on each side of it are fine. It's just that I gotta get the 50 foot to the property line to be able to be legal.
So your alternative you just expressed, I think, was to increase the access to 170 feet.
Yeah, so I have to come over another 120 feet.
Yeah,
Take a swath to back, and that's about 1 point, and I figured out it's 1 point some acres. So it increases the size of the property from 2 acres to about 3.5.
Just so that let me ask, does that 170 feet have to go all the way back, or does that just need to be the access point to Collins?
So the way that the ordinance is written is that lot dimensions shall be measured at the property line, except for that residential lots located on cul-de-sac circles. Lot width shall be measured at the front building line, and the depth of one side lot line may be less than the minimum required by the zoning district, provided that the lot meets width and area requirements. So
It's gonna meet the width and area requirements.
So as long as one of the side lot lines goes back a matter of 175 feet for SF2, the other side lot could be at an angle essentially, and as long as the lot area size for the zoning district, which I believe is 1 acre for SF2, which you would meet that at this point, as long as that is in place, that other side lot line could vary in direction.
See, okay, so it could be triangular.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You've thought about that as well?
Yes.
Preference would be not to do that.
Preference is not to do that, yes, sir.
anything else, Mr. Twitchell?
I don't think so, Mr. James.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
In keeping with the openness of the public hearing, if there's anyone else who'd like to speak, Mr. Brown or anyone? Okay. Then we'll close the public hearing on this.
Yes, sir.
Phil, what do we have in Sunnyvale in terms of other flag lots that might look like this?
As of my knowledge, I do not know of any platted flag lots. There are existing previous lots that were subdivided prior to the current Unified Development Ordinance that's in place. I believe I've seen a couple of those on Dallas County Appraisal District when I've been looking around. However, I do not know of any that are that were created once the passing of the Unified Development Ordinance back in 2018, and none that I know of that are currently platted and registered with Dallas County or recorded with Dallas County.
Sure.
There is a brand new house being built on Collins, just to the south. It's a 2-story. It's being built right now, and it's got a very narrow front property line. It goes back. I know, Jim, you probably know what it is, and that house is a big home.
And it got a variance.
Yeah, okay. Just speaking.
Is that one of the newer ones there on?
It's one up on Trip. It was approved by P&Z.
Jim, do you know what that looks like?
Yeah, so it's a special case, but not unlike this one, because it's also SF2 zoning, which required 170 feet, but because of a TU or an Encore, I'm not sure, easement, they can't build on it, so P&Z granted them a variance for that frontage and also for the side yards to allow them to build on their house under construction right now in the SF2. So they granted a variance for lot width and for side yard width, side yard measurements, whatever you call them. And I think we've done that in several other instances too. I just don't have records of them. I didn't find records of them.
Any more?
And there might be another one on Trip that's already completed that I don't know if it's in SF2 or SF3, but we also granted a lot width variance. House is already constructed, it's finished. So we may have some variances to that also, because it's probably not more than 75 feet. That's the one across from 2 south of the Mall House. 2, west.
So, hey, Phil, my question,
So,
I'm still with the triangular idea. How far does that triangle have to go back? Any,
So one of the side lot lines would have to extend back 175 feet.
so that is the, so can we go back a couple pictures? Right there. So this would be then one of the side lots, right?
Yes, sir.
Right here. And then could you come in with a triangle like that small? Is that allowable?
So it would have to be 175
feet.
feet. It would still have to be 175 feet of frontage, but at that.
Right. At the front, it would have to be 175 feet right here.
Mhm.
And then could it come in this shallow is what I'm saying.
I would think so, yes, by the way the ordinance is read.
Okay.
So as the ordinance is written, he has to have 170 feet of frontage on Collins Road, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you move that right red line out 170 feet, and it looks like, and I left my glasses at the office, 900 feet there, out 170, so you're getting somewhere potentially up there close to that cemetery lot. If you take that right line, the driveway side, and move it 120 more feet, somewhere you're getting in there, something like that. Okay, and it goes up to that back of his daughter's lot, middle of the lake. Now, you didn't change anything. House can still be built where he's going to build the house now. All you did was put another 1.5 acres on that lot and some more frontage. But what you really did is, as I understand it, is you took away the ability to develop that lot 2, according to Mr. Twitchell. Or if you don't, you've got it relegated to facing Barnes Bridge, which I'm not sure is advantageous to anybody. Awkward curve there. So we don't allow flag lots, but we have variances that allow things that make sense to happen. Have we really accomplished anything if we push this out 170 feet? I mean, I fail to see what we accomplished.
From a regulation standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, if a flag lot, to me, is usually a house built behind a house and potentially has a shared driveway. And we have some of those in Sunnyvale. We have some of those. This is not going to be behind another house, not ever going to share a driveway. Are we improving the property by making it 170 feet on the frontage to Collins? And he owns all the property. If he sold it, buyer beware. House still ends up in the same place. The driveway probably potentially ends up in the same place. We just end up with a bigger front yard.
More grass.
We got it now. I mean, somebody's gonna have to mow it now, whether he builds a house on it or not.
Tell me again the issues if you did move that right line over. What's the development handicap on this lot 2? I think so, sir, if you would.
Well, you got building setbacks of 80 and 70 feet and that kind of whatnot. If you start going 170 feet and all the way back, if you start putting setbacks in, I get into the drainage situation. I have to build a real small house to even think about putting it on there. With the lake and with the road and the grading that's along the road and it's built back, there's no way I could build a house on it. So it basically just a land shot, that's what it is.
If you did, I'm still stuck on the triangle. If you did the triangle and you made it really shallow, how much does it affect you? Does
Well,
it?
I don't know how shallow you're talking
I was
about.
thinking,
A straight line, right?
something like that right there. Or, whatever. Is that,
But, yeah, the 170 feet's fairly well over there. I think that would be, I still think that's a problem. I really do.
Doesn't it create a problem because you are not gonna be able to meet the requirements of Lot 2 to put
Jim,
a reasonable house?
what creates a problem is that, number one, you can see the grades in the drop.
Right.
If you pull the thing 170 foot back, and I gotta have a 70-foot, 80-foot, and a 70-foot setback. By the
In the
time I
lake.
get back there on the lake, my house is in the lake.
Yeah, no place to build.
Yes, yeah, it's a strange situation. I mean, I wish I could say that at 14 acres I could have flexibility, but a little bit of the problem is I am bound on two sides. I can't do anything. I'm stuck. Or south and the west side. So I can't access my property. And then the access from Collins is very limited just because I really can only limit it pretty much in that area right there. I've pondered this. Look, I've been an architect for 40 years. I've been pondering this situation for quite a while. Philip, I know about flag lots. I've been through the flag lot many times. And this is the only situation I can think of other than just giving all the land to them and heck with it. I just got to live with. I can't develop.
Lyle, do you know of any plans for Cypress Cove to improve that intersection?
No, sir, not to the best of my knowledge. I mean, as you've no doubt seen driving through, they're currently in the process of widening Bobtown within the Garland city limits. What they've done is, to the best of my knowledge, all they plan to do. So I would have to say there are no plans to do any improvements to the intersection at this time that I'm aware of.
So, do you have an easement? Is there a road easement there that is basically on his property?
The only, I mean,
Some-
other than just the right-of-way at Barnes Bridge Road, which at that area, Barnes Bridge Road is within the Garland city limits. I'm not aware of any additional easements for right-of-way other than
There's
what's
no right-of-way easement
dedicated as right-of-ways.
on the plat.
So you go all the way to the road or even the middle of the road?
No, I'll go, the road's got a boundary line, and you can see almost where that green line is, that's the boundary line.
Right.
So there's, between the pavement and my property, there's about anywhere from 12, 15 feet down to 10 feet.
Right, the southern right-of-way line of Barnes Bridge is the town limit line between Sunnyvale and Garland.
Right.
But it doesn't go into Mr. Twitchell's property beyond that.
Doesn't go.
And I know when I did my daughter's house, there's a gas line, I had to extend the gas line, and it was done in the right of way. And Sunnyvale mows, a lot of times they'll mow mine, because I mow it myself, but a lot of times,
So as Cypress Cove expands, are they gonna push any more water towards his property?
Most of the drainage in Cypress Cove actually goes back out to the lake. They do have detention basins in place. I have plans for that the city of Garland provided us for reference. The city of Garland is under very similar requirements to Sunnyvale in that they're not allowed to increase runoff leaving the site
Right.
above and beyond pre-developed levels. If we think that there's something going on that leads us to question that, I mean, that's something we'd have to look at. But their plans say they do not increase runoff in this direction.
How close does that Cypress Grove development come to this intersection?
Well, they own everything on that eastern side of Bobtown down to Barnes Bridge. Now, I don't know that they plan to build homes right up to the right of way. I mean, that's something I can certainly check on and report back to you. The plans that I've seen, I don't think they're coming down quite that far, but they do own all the way to that northern right of way of Barnes Bridge. So, I mean, if they wanted to add something, that theoretically could be possible.
I don't think they are. They'd be building under the power lines, number one, a little bit. Number two, that's kind of almost a little floodplain area right in there.
There'd be some challenges. That's true. There would be some challenges.
I mean, right now, the intersection, the last week, it was flood. There's probably 3-4 inches of water just overflowing into there. And it goes away very quickly.
So are you getting part of that water on your property? That water?
That water drains into my lake.
So it comes across Barnes Bridge.
Comes across Barnes Bridge and down into my intersection right there, but it comes around the corner, and there's a drainage pipe that comes right underneath into my property. My lake, one of the deals I have on my lake, and one reason I can't go to the other side is I got a culvert pipe in my dam about 4 feet. That drains into Mims' property, which he has a little pond back there. He never used to have that. He used to have a creek. So mine drains right in here. He made a little pond because mine overflows into that. Now, there's twice since 1998, culvert pipe couldn't hold the flow, so it comes around my dam, and it comes right around the dam, comes flowing through and out. That keeps all my property from flooding. And that's only
So if you cleared all that property that's currently there at Barnes Bridge and Collins, it looks like an old fence line to me, but
yeah.
if you cleared all of that, is it big enough for a house, or is there a drainage problem that would cause
There's
that?
a major drainage problem.
Okay, so drainage problem is created there,
Yeah.
which keeps you from, I don't guess
That
you could
whole
even build it
corner
up.
Intersection is, if you go in there, number one, the beaver in there like crazy. I got serious beaver problems.
Is that a high area and it slopes down? Sorry.
It's very low in that area, right in that
Oh, it-
corner, yeah.
Yeah.
It's low on Mr. Green's side, which is Garland, it's low on my side.
Mr. Twitchell, tell me again where the two homes would sit on this as you contemplate here.
Well, in the red, right in there, right there near the lake.
Okay.
And then the other one would be, bring their around, if I did another one over here, it'd be right in there, or right in there.
Right in there.
Yeah, down towards the lake. That site is not ideal, but that's where we first looked at doing a home. And the most beautiful part of my property is right there where the red is. So my daughter says, please, and I said, okay, we'll go after it.
Any further thoughts or questions or comments for Mr. Twitchell?
I have a question.
Joe?
Mr. Twitchell, I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
A couple of pieces of understanding, please. So what you're asking for, there's no harsh, according to the UDO plan, you've read it, you understand what it means.
Yes, sir. Is there hardship?
Yeah, there's no hardship. It's basically what you're asking, there's nothing that qualifies as the hardship, correct?
The only hardship is in reality, I can't develop the property to the best of the development. If you were to hire me as an architect and a planner, I'd come here and say, if I can only get the little bit of house on there by that, I'd be doing a poor job. Okay? And we do a lot of planning for a lot of different, I mean, I'm up doing town planning for Salina right now.
I understand.
So-
I'm not questioning your ability or your knowledge of that.
And one thing I'll probably say to you, I don't think this is not setting a precedence of any kind as far as a flag lot or anything else. Flag lots are well known in other cities. In fact, I think you ought to start considering that maybe in other places because it's not a harmful thing.
Okay.
The reason the hunters-
Currently, right now, we have a UDO against that, correct?
Well, and the reason I think it's in there, doing the plan we do, you're setting a precedence for 170 foot because most of your development is in multi-lots.
I understand. There's still the guidelines that we have to operate within.
This is a very unique circumstance. It's my property. It's my land. The only one that influences is me.
At this point in time. At this point in time, yes, sir. It's the longevity of it after you pass away and your kids take it and they choose to do with it, they choose to do with it what they will at that point, right?
Not according to the state planning, no. It's set in stone. This property is something I bought for eternity.
All right, so then let me ask a different question then. Maybe Philip or the team can help answer. The right side of that line, I'm going to call it like a driveway you have there, the right side of the driveway. That's one that's in question. It's only 50 feet. To go to 170 feet across is a substantial difference. How far back do you have to be from the set?
So one of the side lot lines has to extend at least 175 feet back.
Okay, so if they go up to 175 feet back, so if they go across, I'm trying to go with the triangle theory.
Mm-hmm.
If you go across and if you basically made that to like a L almost, would that work? How far back? So it has to be 175 feet. Pardon me for getting up. If you go across here to meet the width,
170 feet.
how far back do you have to be?
So one of them does have to extend 175.
This one would
Feet
extend
back.
175 feet.
I would think that
If I went, let me get directly to my question.
certainly.
If I go a minimum over here and go 10 feet here and come directly straight across, that provides the room for him to build, that provides the width, and then that provides the minimum on at least one side. Would that meet it?
So I think the intent of the ordinance when creating it was to basically form an equilateral triangle at that.
But we're not gonna be able to complete that.
Yeah.
With this. Your flag lot, the way it's designed, we're not gonna be able to complete that. So if we adhere to that, I understand that's
And Mr. Turner, I appreciate what you're trying to say. What that really does though, it landlocks that property right in there too.
but it's self-imposed.
Pardon?
That's self-imposed.
Yeah, I assume.
Yes, sir, okay.
That's correct.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, then you answered my question, thank you. That's all I have.
Jim,
We're not replatting the property here tonight, correct?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
So it's already platted in these,
The plat,
There is no plat as it exists today.
No.
There is
no plat.
but I will show you, keep going, if you go a few more.
Okay,
If we
so,
come back, that will be the plat, if I come back.
so there is no plat today?
No.
Okay,
The only plat I've got right now is that.
it's the 14 acres,
Yes, sir.
which,
and it's currently abstract land. There's been 2 acres platted back in 2018.
and that's where the daughter lives.
Yes, sir.
Currently, yes, sir.
Got you.
Yeah. This is meant to be a, lack of a better term, this is meant to be a compound for us. You know, I'm gonna probably going back here, I'm trying to do a variance on a wall too, because I want to put a stone wall up, because I'm tired of trucks running to the property, going through stuff and whatnot. So that may be coming up soon, but in reality, I'm trying to get a safe place for my kids to live in a great location, a place we love.
So while I don't have a problem with his proposed plat, per the ordinance, we have a lot 1, which is his lot. I don't know if that's still lot 1 or not. I can't read this anymore. Where his house is and goes back to the back of Mr. Brown's property, okay? And the Collins side of this property, to meet the 170, frankly, only allows one house to be built. Is that correct? I mean, is there a way to put another 170 with a developable piece of property?
No, I can't answer that question right now, honestly.
Okay, well, okay, but does my experts over here agree to that?
No, sir, I do not have the answer to that.
You think there is a way to put a second house?
I would think so, yes, sir. However, I don't know for a fact.
Well, I agree with Mr. Twitchell that if we push the proposed lot 2, or lot 3, I'm sorry. I wish I'd brought my glasses. The proposed lot out to 170 feet, we're going to make that property over here at the corner of Barnes Bridge and Collins potentially undevelopable because of either the lake or the drainage. Or I guess he could put you a very small lot up there on the Barnes Bridge side, but I'm not sure you could even get the 170 feet up there because it still says SF3, it's SF2.
Correct.
So if we push this out to 170, we've potentially made his property undevelopable. And the argument might be that you could get to his 6 acres, but that becomes a flag lot 2, and he won't have 170 feet of. So this is potentially the only way he can develop this property. Yes. Okay.
Where's the problem with the other lot?
Okay. So if we push this lot out to 170, which would be somewhere up in here.
1, 2, right about here.
Okay, but it's gotta go here.
Okay, say it does. It doesn't have to. It can go this way too. But say it does have to go that way. Okay. Now
I'm
what's
not
the
sure you're
problem?
gonna get all your side lot.
Oh,
Okay.
this side lot's deep enough, he said.
Okay,
So,
so this pushes this lot into the lake.
well, this lot stays where it is, right? I mean,
Well, but you can't build a house here because of the lake.
all right, that's fine.
And you can't build one up there because of drainage. And if you try to build one up there, now you've got a very small lot, and he says maybe not even developable because the culvert's
So
running down.
there's not a 170 feet issue. It's just a lot size issue at that point, right?
Well, yeah, maybe it's a lot size
Yeah.
issue.
Well,
It's not done
I came access Collins.
over here.
Yes, because the road, it drops down 15 feet from the road down. And that is so narrow, and you do your setbacks and everything. That area, that little piece of lake that's parallel with Collins, that is undeveloped right now.
The land after.
Yeah. That is- I'll put my professional responsibility on that, it is. You can see the grading, and it's very steep. And the road drops off. In fact, there's a cone there all the time, because right now the road's sloughing off in there.
So all the land here is undevelopable, is
Pretty
it?
much, yes. Yes, absolutely.
So I think my concern is I don't have a concern about this alleged flag lot. Never thought of that being a flag lot, but we'll go with that. Okay? I understand the concept. But I do have a problem when we do something that doesn't appear to be necessary and deny him the right to develop the rest of his property. And we're doing that to the detriment of Sunnyvale, because that's one less development, one less house we might potentially have. That's not going to affect anybody. Doesn't affect a soul. There's no neighbors there. There potentially could be development across the street on Collins on the Smith property. Don't know that that's ever going to happen. There's no pending there, but that's probably SF2 also. It could even be SF1. I don't even know.
I would imagine so, yes.
Yeah, so it could even be SF1.
Which side is that?
That's the
On the
east side of Collins. And there's some challenges there too. So I really have a problem with the fact that this is actually an asset to Sunnyvale. Not going to hurt anything at all. That's why we're here, is to figure out a way to make something work. And extending it 170 feet doesn't do anything for anybody. It doesn't do anything for Sunnyvale. It's going to be green space, and it's going to deny him probably the right to develop any other home. And I don't know if that's a hardship or not, but taking it and saying, well, you've got other options. Well, you don't really have many other options, because if you take some of his 6 acres, you end up with a flag lot. You end up with a house behind a house. We don't like those. This way you don't.
Yeah, I'll have to admit, I'm usually persuaded by wanting to do what the person wants to do and trying to make it work, especially when it doesn't have a detrimental effect on the town or anyone in the area. So I'm leaning with Jim about that. I understand the issues here, and we definitely want to encourage the best use of property. And we unfortunately have a lot of low-lying area in our town, which prevents what we'd like to do development-wise. And I'm not really that excited about an arbitrary drawing of the lot just to meet a regulation precedent setting. I don't know. I don't tend to worry too much about that. Maybe I should.
Yeah, I'll say, I brought up the idea of the triangular change, but I also tend to agree that he should be able to do with his property what he wants to do. It's not, I don't think it's harming Sunnyvale in any way. I agree with Mr. Wade. I do like to stick to the regulations as much as possible, but where it's not causing any harm, I'm tending to lean toward allowing it as well.
No, sir, I'll sit down and answer questions.
No, sir. Not necessarily. There is a picture of a flag lot within our UDO in which it says these are prohibited. I would like to make a point that BOA, it does require 75% of the board in order to pass anything. So there would have to be 4 of the 5 of you that would vote in favor of that motion in order for it to pass. No problem.
I'll second it.
Well, let's, all in favor of granting this variance, please designate with the right hand. All opposed? Oh, you're up? Excellent.
So, Mr. Turner, you voted for approval?
Approval.
Okay.
We have a 5-0 vote, 5-0 vote to approve.
Unanimous? Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate it. Phil, thank you.
No problem.
Since there are no other items on the agenda, we'll have entertain a motion to adjourn. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who was the second for adjourn? Okay.
He wasn't.